Thank you, Israel. It's great to see some photos of you there, James, of back in the old days.
Well, when I had a big head of hair, Claire. Yeah.
Well, there was no comment made. You said it yourself. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of your time to summarize. I just wondered, Israel, one question. Did you want me to finish off, or did you have any final words before we close? I have a few things.
I actually want you to finish up, except that I know you would like to let people know about our hashtag for this meeting as well, so we can be able to bring together all of our social media content. Thank you.
Yes, please, can someone put the hashtag into the chat box, and make sure if you're posting about this to use it so that we can track, how excited you've been, or, any feedback that you might have, and spread the word. So if I may begin, just checking, what can you see? Just my slides?
Yes.
Great. Okay. I have some notes that I've made throughout the last few hours we've spent together. First, I want to start with my favourite quote of all time at the moment. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive, from Dr. Howard Thurman. Now, my main message for this closing speech is that we have some work to do for the Volunteer Community Surveyor program, and in order to be a sustainable program, we need continuity. So that means that all of you that are here in this session have a role to play in keeping this program alive alongside the VCSP team and all of our partners and the experts you've heard from. So I've got 3 things I want to touch on: a quick summary, some thank yous, and then what's next for the VCSP. So I took some notes. Very briefly, we heard from Diane, and she gave us the challenge to all step up. And then Shristi and Jordan joined us to talk about their time on the pilot and the friendships that they made together, forming a brother-sisterly bond. And you can see it's still lasting now. And I thank you, Jordan and Shristi, for pulling together a really informative and great presentation that talks about your experiences. I think it's important to share those and show how you can grow as a person through the Volunteer Community Surveyor program. Now, Aaron, Justice and Solomon joined us as panelists, and Aaron, you did a great job of moderating that, and Justice and Solomon had some great things to say, particularly around Pro-Poor land tools, with Justice speaking about how the VCSP was able to help create an informal settlements atlas with Cadastre, and Solomon said he looks forward to the GLTN continuing their support of our program, which is great to hear. I noted that Justice said that there's some strategic opportunities for young surveyors to build capacity and to teach surveyors around the world about challenges we may face. And this is a great program through which to identify champions, a couple of which the Cadastre have actually employed after VCSP volunteers joined them. A good success story in my eyes. Then we had some nuggets of wisdom from those panelists, including, develop your professional and social skills. Network is your net worth. I really liked that one. And communicate and blog everything that you can that you're doing so you're visible, which ties really well into our knowledge portal, which the VCSP is developing. And also the session that we had last wisdom workshop from Chetna Ben about the importance of documentation of your experiences. We also touched on the challenges in that session, in particular when it comes to Pro-Poor tools. Some of those are tools not being recognised legally, social participatory challenges around feeling like a person participating in mapping their land may feel like that it's actually not doing anything, but that it's a peer-to-peer process and you're aiming to convert institutions into champions. it's very political, and there's a perception that that surveyors, we have a job to switch around, that actually young surveyors and surveyors, as part of this program, are here to help. Then we heard from Claudia, one of our experts, around the tools to identify challenges, and she introduced, you know, the World Bank's Doing Business, the Prindex database where you can compare up to 140 different countries, Landmark, where you can look at Indigenous community lands, ALGAF, where there's experts locally doing work across the world, and then of course the Framework for Effective Land Administration, which is more recent. She also made a call to action to say that we could be using those data sources to overlap and identify gaps, and then seeing how the VCSP can collect data. And she also briefly touched on her Smart Land Maps project, which is becoming more of a tool. So if you see that out there, try to support it. Roshni kindly spread the word that I was a rapper once during our break. I hope that you enjoyed it. And after this, we've got a little bit more music to end the workshop with. Now, after that, we had a breakout session with Royal, Roshni and myself leading, and Royal had a lot of people in her session. So thank you, Royal, for stepping up, and thank you, Roshni, for setting up the Mentimeter. That was a great tool for us to be able to collect the names of you who are interested in continuing the conversation around identifying the tools we can use for challenges against tenure security. And I'm putting a challenge to you to come together as smaller groups and perhaps look at writing a paper for the working week next year. And we will help you to do that for the first few months, as Roshni suggested. Then we heard from David about in-country deployments and how the VCSP assesses the different applications we get to do deployments, and did a great job there, given he had very little notice to pull that together. Second to last was Marcus from Trimble talking about pen maps, and I do have to say a big thank you to Trimble, as they have given us 4 Trimble Catalyst units and subscriptions to go with the system so that we can use it with the Volunteer Community Surveyor program. It was great to see that there were so many constellations on offer, and I think I saw on your demonstration there, Marcus, there were 28 satellites. I remember there being 6 satellites when I was a brand new graduate surveyor back in New Zealand. So the fact that you can get that on your cell phone now and so many constellations, quite stunning. And finally, James, thank you so much for bringing it all together at the end there with your expert session. Very interested to hear that there's still 20% of the UK that's undocumented, and that hearing about your perspectives on the valuation side of things. I think there was a question there about the land matrix that you might want to look back in the chat for to answer. Yeah, so that's a summary. The thank yous, there's a lot of them. Israel has already touched on it, but just quickly, Diane, Tristy, Jordan, Aaron, Justice, Solomon, Claudia, Royal, Roshni, David, Marcus, James, Israel, Kamshin, Jordan and Angela, great job in pulling this together. I always say that Wisdom Workshops is a collaborative event. It's not just one person, even though Israel did a great job of leading this. It's all about a bit of what James calls a land family coming together to share knowledge. Now, what's next? Well, we have a few things for you to do as participants. Israel already touched on it, but I do want to stress that the MOOC that was provided to you this last week, if you have not done it and you want a certificate, you will need to do it. We want you to have done the MOOC and attended the workshop in order to get your certificate. It's open for another day. Please reach out if you're having issues logging in. We have sent it to you a week ago, so if you have not received it, there may be an issue there. We can help you solve that. That's vcsp@fig.net to email if you have issues. Now, the other thing related to this workshop is to connect and continue the conversation that you connected on during the brainstorm sessions. And other events coming up for our work plan until May and then going on, we have a few other things going on. So one of them is an e-volunteering event early next year. That's mostly through Roshni, again with SSI, which you'll hear more through the social media platforms and through the mailing list if you're on it. We have plans to do an in-country deployment, which is what this wisdom workshop is really gearing you up for, aiming for May, and that's dependent on funding and securing the plans. But we're confident that next year we'll have an in-country deployment, and we look forward to inviting you to apply for that. Now, there are other opportunities in the pipeline going forward. I've been speaking with Claudia recently. There's other opportunities that are in the pipeline that I'm hoping will set up the VCSP to keep us a sustainable program going forward. One of those will be in the Pacific. We're determined, so please reach out if you have contacts that you know will help us. And finally, our next wisdom workshop next year is going to be focused on climate action. Now, I just wanted to leave a bit of a shocking fact that I learned recently from COP26, recently finished in Glasgow. There was an agreed upon fund of $1.7 billion towards an Indigenous Right Fund. Now, James touched on decolonisation of some colonised countries, and I read that Indigenous peoples and local communities manage half the world's land and care for an astonishing 80% of Earth's biodiversity, primarily under customary tenure arrangements. And a recent study showed, however, that Indigenous communities and organisations receive less than 1% of the climate funding meant to reduce deforestation. Now, that was really shocking to me, and I think that that really ties in why the VCSP focuses on tackling challenges around tenure insecurity and environmental crises, because they are connected as we are to each other. So as I said, we've all got work to do to keep this program being a sustainable program, to keep involving ourselves, keep being continually involved, and please keep the faith as we build this program up. Finally, a call to action, sign up to our mailing list if you haven't already. It's on our website. Go to fig.net/VCSP. Follow us on social media for the Young Surveyors Network accounts. And then again, join up with each other to help us step up and map the world a better place. Over to you, Israel.
Thank you so much, Claire. I'm happy for how this meeting had went, because I like timing and we are 2 minutes before schedule. That's interesting. So I want to one more time appreciate everybody. The next time we meet is going to be on the climate change wisdom workshop, as Claire had rightly mentioned. So at this point, you can begin to exit